And online. I now call to order the March 3rd, 2022 regular Board of Aldermen meeting. If you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Alderman Becker.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Schuman. Here. Alderman Morose. Here. Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Alderman Rucker. Mayor Alvery.
Here. We do have a quorum. We move on to Mayor's communication. I have nothing for this evening. So we move to citizens communication. This is the time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that is not a public hearing. There are two public hearings on tonight's agenda. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes will not or may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting dates, which are the first and third Thursdays of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? And if so, please come forward. If you have not already signed in, there's a sign-in sheet by the microphone. So if you haven't already signed in, if you come up to speak, please fill out that information for us. We appreciate it very much. Good evening.
Dan Calvino. I live right here in Osage Beach. I'm just wondering, how much money did the city spend for that Tri-County Lodging Association deal with the soccer stadium? How much money came out of the city coffers?
Nothing.
For them?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Because I know you were sitting there acting as an agent for them.
Right.
That's why I'm asking.
I wasn't acting as an agent for them.
Yeah, you were sitting right there at the head of the desk.
All right, Mr.
At the head of the table at the
Calvino,
meeting.
I'm not going to get into a conversation like that with you here this evening.
Well, then don't say anything.
All right. But the point is that I was there. I was on my own time, okay? The city was not paying me to be there.
I'm just wondering.
Anything else?
I had to ask because
I'm glad
Tri-County
you did.
Lodging Association.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, this thing about, I've been reading in the paper about this $40 to have somebody, a homeowner has to pay $40 now to have a water heater put in their house? What's up with that? You getting in our pockets for $40 for what reason?
Well, that was an issue that was brought before the board back last year, and the board has asked the building official to address those issues, and I don't see it on the...
Who is he, though?
Excuse me?
Who is he?
He's sitting right here, Ron White.
I mean, who is he that he can say we need $40 out of every homeowner?
Well, all he's done,
He's
Mr.
not even
Calvino, was
elected.
what he did, Mr. Calvino, was make a recommendation to the board for the implementation of the international building codes, the requirements associated with that. Those codes were in effect and have been in effect. They just have not been enforced here in the city. So it is his responsibility, to bring that to the board, and then it's up to the board to make a decision on the request to either implement or not to implement.
Well, then why weren't those rules instituted before? Why all of a sudden?
Ron, do you want to answer some of those questions?
I mean,
or?
somebody didn't do their job. If these rules have been in place.
Well, actually, it goes a little bit beyond that, Mr. Calvino. Ron, do you want to address it, or do you want me to?
I can address it. The codes have been implemented since I started back in '03. None of the surrounding jurisdictions have enforced that because of a lot of the work and the administration that goes into doing that. It's been my opinion that this is something that the city should be doing, and I brought that to the board and said, I've heard a lot of stories about improperly installed water heaters. That's the one that really brought it to light. The codes do address proper installation. There are multiple safety features that are required, and it's my opinion that we're not doing our job as inspectors if we're not taking a look at it.
Well, the only thing that I know about water heater problems is in the condominiums that nobody had any codes when they built all these condos around here. They put them water heaters in every one of them condos and didn't put a retention pan underneath them. That's the only problems I know of with water heaters, okay? But as far as homeowners go, that's a little different. Now you're just looking to get into our pockets. That's all there is to it.
Anything else, Mr. Calvino?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that deal down here where you're going to give these people a TIF. They want a tax break and we're talking about a bond now? If these guys are developers, what do they need our money for?
Well, actually, to be real honest with you, the only thing that's before the board tonight is a request to approve a funding agreement. The purpose of the funding agreement is simply to have funds provided by the developer so that we can go to outside consultants, to review information, since we don't have anyone on staff that can make some of the decisions that are going to be required for that. There has not been a formal request for a TIF, received, nor has there been a TIF plan received.
What about the bond? What about the bond issue?
That will have to be addressed when the time comes. It is not, that's not being requested.
It's in the works though, right?
Well, I would just say this, that again, with the funding agreement, we will be looking at some of the different ways that they are requesting that the city provide funds for the development. There is no decision. This has got to be reviewed, by the consultants and recommendations made. Once that happens, then it will go to the board. If the board decides to move it forward, then it will go to a TIF commission, and it will be up to the TIF commission to make a decision to make a recommendation or not recommend it back to the board. If the board decides to accept that recommendation and move forward, then you get into a detailed evaluation and an agreement, on how the development, will be handled, which will include funding for the development. None of that right now is, it's in what, the best way that I can put it is in its most embryonic state at this point.
Yeah, but I'm curious why we have to shuck out any money out of the city to pay for any of these developers to come in. They want to make money. They want to put their business in there. Why don't they pay for everything? Why does the city have to pay for anything? I mean, you're going to charge us $40 for a water heater, but you won't charge them to build a business they're going to make money on?
Well, it's a little more difficult to answer that question for you. Quite frankly, when a developer comes, before the board and asks for public assistance, as I said, I just walked you through.
Socialism is what it is.
Well,
so let's put that out there.
Mr. Calvino, call it what you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Okay. Anything?
Homeowners can't do that.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Calvino. Is there anyone else that would like to present to the board this evening? If so, please come up.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Again.
Mr. Schmidt.
My name is Ron Schmidt, for those of you who don't know. I'm here tonight not as an individual homeowner or anything. I'm here tonight as the representative for the Osage Beach Special Road District of Camden County. And what's brought it up is the Autumn Lane project. And just for a little background, if you haven't or don't remember, this project's been in the works since June of 19. 2.5 years. When it started out, we were given an estimate of $54,000 to do the work. But then you, as a board, decided that we were only covering 203 feet of that street, which is 450 feet to the city line. So you more than doubled that area that we were going to cover. And correspondingly, price rose to $154,000. One of our commissioners voted to approve our expenditure of that funding, and that's where we're at right now. But we have been advised that the cost to do it has gone up to $193,000. And the board commissioners decided that's it, they've stopped paying. In fact, they feel that since the board increased the size of the street to be paved by more than double, that if this is going to be done, the board should pick up the difference for that of almost 40,000. It's 38 something. And, you know, we want to keep working together as we've been doing. But we want to get back to prioritized list of road projects done in 2018. We've got the first 4. We'd like to continue, but we only get about $200,000 to $250,000 a year, and that doesn't go very far when you have a project like this that costs $193. So that's all. I just wanted to make a point. We'd like to have your help on this one. Instead of walking in with a bucket of money, I'd like to walk out with some money tonight. No, I know better than that.
Ron, we appreciate it. You know, the Special Road District is a great partner with the city of Osage Beach. Actually, our Assistant City Administrator put out an email today addressing the very issue that, you know, you brought to us tonight. And I believe that he plans to have it on the board agenda at the next board meeting, or which one, Mike?
It's the next one.
Next board meeting. So we will address that and your request, and, you know, whether the city will, you know, pick up the additional cost. I believe that the additional cost from the $155,000, which was the last number you all had, had to do with the bid process, and the lowest bid that we got on that project was the number that you just finished talking about.
Yep.
And I believe, based on some engineering comments from our engineering firm, it's simply just the cost of, you know, product and new services associated with all of the other rising costs that we're faced with today. But I appreciate you coming and sharing your comments with us this evening.
I just want to be sure that you knew about it.
Thank you. We do. And again, we appreciate the partnership with you all.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great evening. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to come and share with the board this evening? If so, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Ike Skelton. I've been familiar with the Lake of the Ozark area for many years. My brother's had a locksmith shop here for over 20 years. I purchased that shop from him, and I personally moved here about 4 years ago. And I love the Lake of the Ozarks area because the people that are here are very kind of, you know, you stay out of my business and I'll stay out of yours. We love freedom. We love liberty. We love small government. Quite conservative, I believe, in our philosophical ways of looking at things for the most part in the area. And then, as I look around at things that are happening in Osage Beach, ever since I've been here, I have to wonder if that's true here. One of the first things I helped fight when I got here, or at least spoke against, was that you wanted to send police officers out on private property, if you remember several years ago, to enforce traffic laws and so forth on private parking lots. So we hopefully, thankfully, got away from that. And then you talked about a single trash hauler, which is quite what this gentleman right here kind of referred to at one time. To think of the fact that, and I wonder where that's at right now, as a matter of fact, but I remember that it got voted in to at least look at it, and you had to review it for a couple of 3 years per state statute before you could decide whether you're going to enact it or not. So then there was that. And then, of course, most of the states said, no, we don't want anything to do with the prescription drug monitoring program. You also instilled that right here in Osage Beach, and I see you're going to get rid of it because, well, finally, after over 10 years, the lobbyists and others beat down the Missouri legislature and got PDMP approved. So now we're on board with everybody else in the entire country instead of being a nice little liberty and free area. The last couple of years should illustrate to folks what is fantastic about Lake of the Ozarks. People flooded down here because of the freedom and because of the liberty that we have here, because we don't have all these rules, although the international building codes have been around for a long time. And I have to tell you, Osage Beach should be nothing to do with international. Osage Beach should have Osage Beach codes, not international. International building codes are adopted because it's lazy to do it. You don't have to look much up. It's just there. It's already done for you. And then you pick and choose what you want to adopt and look at. As this gentleman illustrated, these water heater things, HVAC, was never looked at before. Since 2003, I believe they said that they were adopted. They hadn't been checked. What else hasn't been looked at? What is the next thing that you're going to pull out of the international building codes that you're now going to start individuals requiring to get a permit for and more money out of their pocket? I kind of wonder. I see Osage Beach has been kind of sliding toward that area that most of Missouri and most of Lake of the Ozarks does not conform with. So I have to wonder, what is it going to do to make a difference? There's an election coming up soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skelton. Anyone else? Is there anyone else that has anything they want to present to the board this evening? All right, if not, then we'll move on. Our first item of business is the approval of the consent agenda. If the board desires, the consent agenda may be approved by a single motion. Tonight's agenda consists of the minutes of the February 17th, 2022 regular Board of Aldermen meeting and the March 3rd, 2022 bills list. Are there any questions, comments, or proposed revisions? There is one revision on the minutes regarding new business, bill number 2205 for the February 17th minutes regarding a second reading which was incorrectly posted, and that there was a recommendation to revise that. I think you all have a copy of that in front of you on the dais. So, are there any other items that need to be considered for proposed revisions, or are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the revision to the February 17th minutes?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. We move on to unfinished business. There is one item of unfinished business this evening requesting a second reading by title only of ordinance number 22.05, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending the codes of ordinances by repealing Chapter 250 entitled Prescription Drug Monitoring Program, consisting of Section 25.010 through 25.090. Because the City of Osage Beach, Missouri prescription drug monitoring program has been made redundant by the establishment of a statewide program with the adoption of Senate Bill 63. The first reading of this item was approved during the February 17th board meeting. Are there any additional comments from the city attorney?
No, sir.
All right, are there any questions from the board? If not, is there a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman, roll call, please.
Alderman Becker,
Yes.
Alderman Ross,
Yes.
Alderman Schuman,
Yes.
Alderman Morose,
Yes.
Alderman Osteen,
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
All right, the second reading is approved. We move on to the new business. Under new business, our first item is a public hearing on special use permit 413. Michael and Cheryl Castle are requesting a residential use on property zoned C1. City planners report, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? This is a request by Michael and Cheryl Castle to establish a dwelling unit within a commercial structure that is located in a commercial zone. Obviously, most of you probably know this particular structure or this particular business being On the Rise Bakery located right down the road from here. What the Castles had done a few years back, they bought the building next door to the original On the Rise building and went through the process of connecting those buildings, making them into one building on their commercial piece of property. And they want to build a dwelling unit for themselves within that building while still having the restaurant within it. As you know, the code allows us to give a special use permit to do a residential use in a commercial zone, and that is what they are requesting to do. And with your approval, the special use will allow them to get a building permit to do so. This was taken to the Planning Commission at their last meeting. I made a recommendation to approve this with the requirements that I put within my report, and they sent it forward to the board with a recommendation to approve.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative here tonight? And if so, would you like to offer any comments?
I don't see.
I don't believe they are here tonight. So before I open the public hearing, are there any questions from the board? With none, the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here who would like to make comments either for or against this request? Seeing none, are there any additional comments from the board? With none, the public hearing is now closed, and we move on to our next item, which is requesting a motion to approve special use permit 413, Michael and Cheryl Castles, requesting residential use on property zone C1, general commercial. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Osteen, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is passed. Our next item is our second public hearing, rezoning case number 417, a request from Arapahoe LLC. City planners report, please.
Yes, thank you. As you may remember, in July of 2020, the board passed the ability for Arapahoe to build a amphitheater down by the Backwater Jacks complex. Since that time, the owners of Backwater Jacks have had a little bit of a change in their ideology on what they would like to do. At this point, as opposed to having a 2,000-seat amphitheater, they're now looking to establish an aquatic recreation location. As part of this, basically what you will find is they have the same layout. If you have the map in front of you and the diagram that was given you, they have the same layout because they'd already started the project, but at this point, instead of having the 2,000 seats, the large stage, and the concert equipment, they are wanting to put swimming pools and a terraced level going down to the lower level and a bigger pool. And then they will have a significantly smaller stage where there might be some, small music acts or a DJ and a couple of large digital boards on each side of them. This is something that the applicant saw a facility, much like in Las Vegas, liked the idea, felt like it might be a better use for this particular facility and piece of property, so he brought it back and is requesting this today. As part of this, if you might remember, one of the issues with the amphitheater was it was going to be a highly intense uses when they had their events, and they were limited to 12 events in a year, which at that point we would provide traffic control through our police department that they would pay for. With the change that they're making, basically what's going to end up happening is you're not going to have near the intensity as you would for a 2,000-seat amphitheater, but you will have a more consistent intensity on the area. So as part of that, what we are requiring is that Beach Drive is reconstructed to a collector status street, which will be able to handle more safely and more efficiently the traffic that will go in and out of the Backwater Jacks complex. Also, there will be a sidewalk on one side, which is something that it doesn't have now. And the other part of it is that all commercial traffic will be taken off of Sunset Drive, and the entrance to the complex from Sunset Drive, those entrances will be gated so that the only ones that can use those will be those who will be staying in the resort condominiums that they have, the vacation rentals, or, possibly could be used for the employees to access the property on busy weekends, and then also, obviously, if there's an emergency on Osage Beach Parkway, traffic accident or something that stopped traffic, in front of the Beach Drive area, the police department can then contact them, ask them to open the gate so that traffic can then be taken through Sunset only on for emergency purposes. This is something that we've presented to the applicant. They were, very happy with the idea. They understand the need, to provide their customers with more safe travel in and out, along with the residents down there are more than willing to do it and are looking at ways of funding this. It's certainly a situation where the individual activities are going to be much less on the area. And with the applicant having purchased the vast majority of the property around the Beach Drive corridor, it's certainly a situation to where, there will be some future development in the future. I guess I said that twice, some future development, both residential and possibly more commercial, that this road will benefit us by being there. With that said, I took this to the Planning Commission, recommended approval with the requirements and considerations listed in the report, and they sent it to you with a unanimous recommendation to approve.
All right, thank you very much. Is the applicant or a representative here this evening? And if so, would you like to make some comments? Andy, welcome.
Yes, sir. My name is Andy Pruitt. I'm representing for the applicant, Arapahoe LLC. I think Carrie did a good job of explaining what's going on, what our request is, what our plan is. Our few points I just want to emphasize is that Arapahoe LLC is spending their own money to improve Beach Drive for this use. And we are putting in a gate, a fence at the top of Sunset Drive to keep the traffic from going that way. We're going to have all of our customer traffic on Beach Drive. Mainly, that's it. I think we have approximately 90 acres of property contiguous right there in that area. So we have big plans for the future, and this, I think, is going to be a good start and a positive for the city. So, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, does the board have any questions? Andy, thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right. I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to comment either for or against this project? Seeing no one, are there any additional questions from the board or questions from the board? With none, the public hearing is now closed, and we move on to our next item, which is requesting a first reading of Bill Number 2206, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adopting an amendment to the zoning map of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri by rezoning a parcel of land as described in rezoning case number 417. City Planner, any additional comments?
I have nothing further, Mayor, unless there are questions.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve the, yes, Bob, I'm sorry. Approve. Okay. All right. There is a motion that has been made to approve the first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The first reading passes. Our next item is requesting a first and second reading of Bill Number 2207, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorization to allow the city administrator to execute the ICMA Retirement Corporation, DBA, Missouri Square Retirement Government Money Purchase Plan Adoption Agreement. And I'm going to guess that this is our human resource generalist responsibility to explain. So, Cindy, go ahead.
Yes, Mayor and members of the board. This is just to ensure the 401 plans of the city are kept up to date with the legislation and regulation changes. The IRS requires that a new plan is adopted every 6 years. The last time the city adopted theirs was in 2016. There have been no changes to the adoption agreement except the addendums that we had prior to it are now included in the adoption agreement, which were the changes that the city has a 1% matching on top of their other contribution, and that we also have a vesting schedule for employees retire. They can convert their personal time to 401 funds. Everything else is the same. If you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? If not, is there a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Alderman Becker and a second, Alderman Schuman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading passes. The second reading by title only of ordinance number 2207, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to execute the ICMA Retirement Corporation, DBA Missouri Square Retirement Governmental Money Purchase Plan Adoption Agreement. Are there any additional comments from the Human Resource Generalist?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, roll call, please.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
All right, the second reading does pass. Our next item is requesting a first and second reading of Bill Number 2108, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving a professional service agreement with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell for services relating to the consideration of the legacy development proposal and the TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outlet Mall under the Real Property Tax Incremental Financing Redevelopment Act. City Attorney, please.
Yes, Mayor. This and the companion ordinance, the next one, are the two first steps towards consideration of the proposal to redevelop the outlet mall. This will hire the law firm of Gilmore Bell to advise the city as this project proceeds. Gilmore Bell will be paid by Legacy Development and its associates under this next ordinance that's coming up, which is the deposit on the funding agreement. We've used Gilmore Bell for the Arrowhead Center retirement community that was built. We've used Gilmore Bell at Deerbergs. We used Gilmore Bell for Osage Beach Commons. They're familiar with the city and with our processes. So we need expert counsel to do this, and we have had good success with them in the past.
All right, thank you very much. Questions or comments from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second? Alderman Becker, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading passes. The second reading by title only of ordinance number 2208, an ordinance approving a professional service agreement with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell for services relating to the consideration of the legacy development proposal and the TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outlet Mall under the Real Property Tax Incremental Financing Redevelopment Act. Any additional comments from the city attorney?
No, sir.
All right, any additional questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Morose and a second from Alderman Osteen. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
All right, the second reading does pass. Our next item requests both a first and second reading of Bill Number 21-09, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adopting a funding agreement for consideration of the legacy development proposal and the TIF plan application for the redevelopment of, hold on a second. Yep, didn't move, well, that's right, that's right. And the TIF plan, yeah, that's right, so it's the way it's written. And the TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outlet Mall under the Real Property Tax Incremental Allowance Redevelopment Act. City Attorney.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board, this is how we pay for the lawyers that we just hired. The developers put down a deposit of $30,000. I'm sorry, Carrie? Okay. The developers put down a deposit of $30,000 that Tara will take out of her safe tomorrow and deposit in the check. Because there's an audience here, let me just make sure you guys understand. We do not have a formal TIF plan application from these guys yet. When we get it, it will be a public document and everybody's entitled to look at it. The Board of Aldermen will refer it to the Tax Increment Financing Commission. That will have a public hearing. That public hearing will be in this room, and every last one of you guys will have an opportunity at the public hearing to testify yea or nay. There are deadlines for how much time has to be given so that it's not a public hearing that it happens next week. In fact, there's a special Missouri law that requires us, instead of publishing an agenda one day ahead of time for tax increment financing, you publish an agenda at least 4 days ahead of time. So if you're interested in following this project, make sure you sign up for Notify Me on our website, and we will be doing this as public as we possibly can. This agreement today simply makes sure that the developers who have brought this project to us pay the bills from Gilmore Bell and for any other experts we have to hire to consider their project, okay? So it doesn't come out of your pockets as taxpayers.
All right, thank you. Questions from the board? If there are none, is there a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Schuman, do I have a second? Alderman Becker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading passes. Second reading by title only of ordinance number 22.09, an ordinance approving a funding agreement, and that's the key. It's a funding agreement for consideration of the legacy development proposal and TIF plan application for the redevelopment of the Osage Beach Outlet Mall under the Real Property Tax Incremental Allocation Redevelopment Act. Any additional comments from the city city attorney?
None from me, and I don't think
None
any from
from me.
Gina either.
I don't think she wants to get into that. Okay. Are there any additional questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve second reading? Alderman Osteen, and a second from Alderman Morose. Roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker? Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Becker?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
All right, second reading does pass. Our next item is requesting a first reading of Bill Number 21-010, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to accept the Municipal Equipment Company Incorporated service agreement to perform three-phase lift station assessment inspections for specific station locations as listed in said agreement for an amount not to exceed $168,960. Public Works Operations Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor and the board. This proposed assessment will provide a detailed 17-point preventative maintenance inspection of the city's largest 88 lift stations. The pumps will be pulled and inspected for insulation and stator resistance, voltage, amp draw, thermal protection, and impeller tolerances, along with many other conditions. This project will allow a time-sensitive catch-up for all larger stations and allow the other sewer staff to focus on the numerous, being about 1,200 other grinder stations, and catch that infrastructure back up to snuff, basically. The preventative maintenance will happen going forward with air release valves and other valve maintenance. Will allow the staff to do that maintenance with this project. I would love to say that current staff could do this project. We will be able to in the future, but at present we cannot. I would add that of the 9 sewer department employees now, only 3 of them have been on staff more than 3 months. So there's a little bit of training curve as well, and this is why this proposal is necessary. Once that has been completed, the sewer staff will take over this large 3-phase station maintenance. This proposal, this will take 2 pump technicians about 5 weeks to complete, and I recommend approval.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Ross.
So Kevin, you said that we'll be taking over the maintenance, but I want to make sure I'm clear. You expect and hope that in the future, when you're fully staffed and your folks are up to speed for a little more than 3 months, that we would be able to do these inspections in-house. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was trying to articulate before, if we take this on, let's say we don't do that, and you could decide that we don't do this, we can get along, but we're not going to be able to maintain those other 1,200 grinder stations that are most troublesome. Those are the ones that we get the most SSOs, sanitary sewer overage, the most spills, the most calls on. And albeit they're smaller stations, they actually generate most of our work. So with this effort and municipal equipment, we're going to take a two-pronged approach. We're going to take care of these three-phase stations and then the numerous grinders at the same time. And that's the intent. Yes, we will take over this maintenance of these larger stations at a later date.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, Alderman Osteen.
Kevin, was this included in your 2022 proposed budget, this assessment?
Correct. This was gone over in the October budget workshop.
Okay.
And it had already been considered.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Becker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The first reading does pass. Our next item requests a motion to approve citizen appointments to the Planning Commission and the TIF Commission. And I will take this one on. In accordance with state statute and city ordinances, appointments are made by the mayor and approved with the consent of the Board of Aldermen. I am recommending the following citizen appointments as commissioners. To the Planning Commission, Gary Jones, who will represent Ward 3. While we do not have specific representation of the different wards, we do try to get representation as best we can from the different wards. This will be a 4-year term. Bill McKay, Ward 3, also a 4-year term. Bill Morgan, who will represent Ward 2, a 4-year term. Angie Schuster, representing Ward 2, a 4-year term. And Jessica Rozier, who will also represent Ward 1 with a 4-year term. These are all new positions. The Planning Commission can have a maximum of 15 members. This will bring the current number serving to 12. Currently, we have 7, and of that 7, 1, of course, is myself, and there is a board representative. The next recommendation that I'm making is to the TIF Commission, and that is for Dave Crane. And I would like to get Dave's last name spelled properly, and it was my fault for putting it in incorrectly. His last name is actually spelled C-R-A-N-E. And this position is to fill a vacancy left inactive because the TIF Commission had not actually been meeting. With that being said, are there any questions from the board? If not, is there a motion to approve the appointment with an effective date of 4/1/2022?
So move.
Alderman Morose, second by Alderman Ross. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The appointments have been approved, and I would like to thank the board for granting my recommendations. Our next item is requesting a motion to approve and submit the Board of Aldermen authorization, City Council authorization form to participate in the Missouri Department of Transportation Highway and Safety Grant Program. Chief, this is yours, I believe.
Yes, sir. Mayor and members of the board, this is an annual form that we have to have you complete to allow us to participate and receive money from Highway Safety. This year we applied for a hazardous moving violation grant and DWI grant. It's all 100% covered by Missouri Department of Transportation and Highway Safety. Recommend approval.
All right, thank you, Chief. Are there any questions from the board? With none, is there a motion to approve? Alderman Becker, do I have a second? Alderman Schuman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Our final item this evening, request a motion to approve funds not to exceed $108,000 for the negotiation and purchase of a Jet A replacement fuel truck for Lacey Fine Airport. Airport manager, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members of the board. This is a request to spend the $100,000 that we approved for the budget for a replacement fuel truck. We are currently looking for a used truck to replace the 1989 model that we're using out at Lacey Fine right now. During the pre-budget process, pricing was obtained for several replacement used trucks, and they ranged anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000. Because of the demand and supply issues that we're currently seeing all across the country on everything, actually, these trucks now are between $100,000 and $130,000. A brand new truck in the same configurations right now are $240,000 and above. And because the majority of these companies require a down payment before purchase, we are asking for approval now so we can be in position to act fast when the truck meeting our specifications and requirements is available. Like I said, our original budget was $100,000 for this. We have already incurred a savings of $8,000 on the purchase of a new zero-turn mower. And with permission, we would like to use the $8,000 savings and add it to our $100,000 budget for a total not to exceed $108,000 for the purchase of a replacement truck.
All right.
Airport Department recommends approval.
Guy, thank you very much. The questions from the board? Yes, Alderman Becker.
Ty, we had, during budget meetings, we had a dilemma of getting fuel from one airport to the other. Will the purchase of this truck solve that problem?
No, that's another issue that we're still working on.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Alderman Osteen.
Just one comment, but
Sure.
just to clarify, the original request in the budget meetings was for $240,000 for the purchase of a new truck, but we went ahead and approved $100,000 for the purchase of a used truck. So you're coming in asking for slightly over that. So regardless, we are still way under what we initially had discussed as far as budget meetings. Just FYI.
All right, thank you. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, and second, Alderman Osteen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Our next item is communications. We start with communications from members of the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple, 3 things. One, I want to again recognize the street crews, the ice and stuff that came down last Thursday. Y'all did an excellent job, Kevin, and please let your folks know they continue to do a great job, and we really appreciate it. And that mess, could have been a lot worse, and I was able to get around pretty easily. A couple other things on the Autumn Lane project. We'll discuss it next week, or in the next meeting apparently. But I understand where Ron's coming from, and I agree that maybe we should consider strongly funding the Autumn Lane with the additional funds. We're going to have to figure out where we pay for it, though. But I get that. But most importantly is to address the permit applications or permit requirements for the homeowners, hot water heater and HVAC replacements. And I just want to say one thing, and that is we did not approve this to get into homeowners' pockets, okay? The reason that we approved this was to help ensure safety of these replacements where we have had situations where they were not replaced safely. Now, I will say this. I failed to connect the dots when we talked about this during the budget process, that would require a $40 permit fee, okay? And that's why at the last meeting, I recommended that we waive those for at least a year for hot water heater and HVAC replacements. The reason that we want to have these done is because honestly, and I've seen it, I spent 20 years managing over 500 restaurants and hot water heaters and HVAC, and there's a lot of potential liability and unsafe things that can be done if they're not inspected. And that's why I think there's value in this process, okay? But I will say this, I had a conversation with Ron today, and I asked him if we can, because there is a permit schedule, fee schedule out there for $40 on single-family residential, how would we go about negating that fee for some period of time? And Ron said that there was a way to devise, if the board so chose, to devise an exception to those permit fees. And so I'm not sure how we go about that, but I think that we should consider that. And I don't know if you're looking for direction from the board tonight or how we want to do that, but I would like to see us at least bring that forward so we can discuss to the board of waiving those fees, as well as probably some other public communication and things like that we can do along the line also. And at this point, I don't know where you want to go with those comments, but I'd like to see if we can figure out a way to move forward and make this situation much better.
If you'll remember, at the last board meeting, one of the things that I recommended that we do is have the alderman get in touch with Ron either by telephone or by email, make recommendations and proposals to him so that, he could take a look at this and bring back this issue to the board, which, I'm sure he still plans to do. So if you all have not done this, then I'd ask that you get with him before the next board meeting, and hopefully we'll be able to see this as an agenda item for discussion at the next board meeting.
I had the conversation with Ron. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks. I just would like to see the fees for this particular item to be waived for some period of time. And I don't know if that's what Ron's planning on bringing back in the next couple of weeks, but if he's not, then if there's some other, how would I say, support on the board, then that might be a way to get Ron what he needs.
Well, I think this is something that you've recommended, and I think, this is something that you and I have talked about, and Ron and I have talked about, so I truly do believe that is going to probably be part of the consideration that, he will be bringing back, to the board.
Correct.
That's what I look forward to. Yes. Yes.
I'm done. My comments go right ahead.
Are you through?
Completely.
Okay. Alderman Becker?
I would agree with Alderman Ross on the waiving of the fees for some duration.
We talked about that, especially since we didn't feel like that we, had been able to, communicate the way that we should have, with the community on this. So that was a dispensation that we were certainly looking, for. So again, appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anything else on that issue?
No, sir.
If not, Alderman Morose.
I have no other comments other than I concur with Alderman Ross, and I look forward to our resolution on this. Thank you.
All right. Alderman Osteen.
I would just like to recognize our Parks and Recs Director, Nicole, for the hard work she's done since she's been in her tenure as the head of that department. I don't think people will understand how much hands-on involvement that position entails. Early mornings, late nights, long hours. So what you've done was very much appreciated with that department. That's all.
All right. Let me just build on that comment just a minute, and it's probably making reference to the fact that our parks manager will be moving outside of the city with her husband. So the great job that she has done with the Parks Department has been truly greatly appreciated when you consider the amount of time and effort that goes into especially our summer season as it relates to all of the different events that we have down there and the amount of time and effort that's put in by our whole parks crew. So I think that's probably where the reference is.
Yes.
I said that to her this morning and made her cry.
We're making her cry now.
You made her cry. So,
I said it before
at
the
least it
meeting.
wasn't me this time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Just stay.
All right. All right. Alderman Becker.
I have nothing, Mayor.
All right. Alderman Schuman.
Mine is basically just echoing a few. One, to the road crews for doing a great job with the ice storm that we had, and then also with everybody else about the waiving the fees for a certain amount of time, because that is, I understand $40 is, whenever you're already replacing a water heater, $40 can be a lot of extra money. So giving people time to kind of expect that and businesses to get that in place would be great.
Okay. Anything else? Kelly, anything else?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
All right. All right. City Administrator.
I don't have any update except in front of you, you'll find the final hard copy of the budget. It is online. It's been online for a couple weeks. It's with all the supplemental information. If you do not want a hard copy, just leave it on the dais for those of you that may just want to work online. If not, you're welcome to take it. So that's the only update I have.
All right, thank you. City Attorney.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
City Clerk.
I just want to make sure, did everybody get the invitation for the dinner that's coming up at the end of the month? I've heard from Kelly, I heard from Tyler, are you coming?
You got to take off.
Okay, you're gonna do, okay, yes and yes. Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
All right, Chief.
I've got a few things, I guess. First, I want to thank Carrie Bell. We've been working on a reimbursement application for the Missouri GEMT, which is a ground emergency transport for our ambulance. It's a program that started a couple years ago that we didn't get into until this year. We just barely beat the deadline. Carrie scrambled and got us the numbers and everything together, but we're going to see a net gain out of this of about $15,000 coming in back to the city that we haven't got in the past. So kudos to Carrie for helping us put that together, and everybody else that was involved, Tommy and our billing company. So that's unbudgeted revenue that we've got coming back from the federal government, or state government, I should say.
And this is something that we can apply for every year.
From here on out.
So now we'll have it on our follow-up files.
Yep, exactly. We had a record year for the polar plunge this year. It was last weekend. We broke records. Our previous record was $213,000 that we raised in 2015. This year we did $238,000. Wow.
Excellent.
We had 17 super plungers that plunged 24 times in 24 hours, and we raised $130,000 of that $238. So it was a good day. I want to thank Ron, Mayor, and Alderman Schuman for coming in and doing some judging for us. I think Ron's still taking tums from the chili cook-off, but it was good. So it was a great year. We hope it just raised the bar for us to beat next year, I guess. But it all goes to a great cause. And then lastly, we had our new officer start yesterday, Dave Stark. Started his first day, so that puts the police department now on 3 officers now. So we're getting caught back up, but we still have the vacancies in communications we're trying to struggle and fill. So
I'd like to take just a minute and commend Todd and, our whole police team for what they do with Polar Bear Plunge every year. This is a great funding for a fantastic organization. Those funds go to Special Olympics. Todd, how many years have we been doing this?
This was the 27th year for the plunge.
27th year, and how much have we raised for Special Olympics? Yeah, I'll put you on the spot.
Over $1 million at least.
Okay, well over $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering that we've been doing it for 27 years. Again, great kudos for
Started out
your
with, I
team.
think, 25 plungers back in whatever year it was.
Kelly and I had an opportunity to sit there and visit from the non-chilly side, shall we say. And the day was a beautiful day. Wasn't one of those 75-degree days, but it was certainly better than some that we have had in the past. And it was a great fun to watch all of the plungers and all of the folks that came out to watch the event. So again, thank you. All right, we move on to city planner.
Yes, Board, I would just like to thank you all for the appointments, new citizen appointments to the Planning Commission. As I look up on the dais tonight, I realize that every member of our board has at some point served on the Planning Commission, so you understand just how important of a group it is. We've lost a number of members over the last year or so, so being able to get that citizen representation back in that group is extremely important to the group, and that group and commission as a whole is very important to the community. I very much look forward to working with the new members that you've put on there, and I will get with every single one of them next week and get them started with kind of what they're going to be doing. So again, I very much appreciate it, and I know that you understand the importance of the group. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, HR.
Nothing, except I'll see everybody tomorrow at the Employee Appreciation Dinner. So.
Great. Looking forward to that. All right, Parks.
I just want to say thank you very much. I'm not going to say goodbye yet, so you got me for a little bit longer. I couldn't do my job without the great staff that I have, so I just want to, they're not here, and they're amazing to work with, so, woo, hey, how's it going? Anyways, we have Little League going on, so don't forget to sign up. March 18th is the deadline. And we need to get some more kiddos out on the field and some more coaches. So if you feel like volunteering for coaching, come on out. And then we have the Easter egg hunt coming up in April. We'll have that going out here soon. So we have 35,000 eggs ready for all the youngsters to come pick up. And that's it. And hope I see everybody on Friday.
All right, thank you. All right, Public Works Operations Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one communication regarding Osage Beach Parkway street lighting. We currently own 250 lights on Osage Beach Parkway. These would be the lights on the tall galvanized poles with the 45-degree angle fixtures. Those lights are currently on Ameren 6M customer-owned unmetered energy and maintenance tariff. Under this plan, we currently pay $6.29 per light per month for the existing high-pressure sodium lights that we have in those fixtures, equating to roughly $1,530 per month, every month. After some research and discussions with Ameren, it was determined that if the city were to simply drop the maintenance tariff with Ameren, which we can do because of their donation of a bucket truck, if we drop the maintenance tariff and upgrade the parkway lights to LED bulbs using the existing fixtures, we would go from $6.29 per month per light to $1.12 per month per light, saving the city over $15,000 per year or $75,000 over a 5-year span. Since last October, we've been testing several different bulbs in these fixtures. They'd be out on the eastern side, the easternmost side of the parkway. They've been there for quite some time, and we're kind of playing around with different wattages and different manufacturers, but we're going to try a couple more before we do an order in mass, but we anticipate to have the project completed by May, and then at that point, obviously the savings would incur. Thank you.
All right, good to hear.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
So Kevin, this first I'd heard about it, so I'm curious, are we taking over all of the maintenance?
Yeah, under that plan, the 6M tariff, the only thing they do is change the bulb.
I understand that part. I'm trying to understand.
Yes, we would change the bulb.
Well, there could be, the ballast, I can't remember. We went into this once. So do we have, are we going to able to absorb that maintenance within our current manpower?
Absolutely, because what we do to those old fixtures, the HPSs, the high pressure sodium lights, they have a ballast. They have a number of things that we're going to simply run around. We're going to bypass straight into from the power end straight into the socket. So eliminating all that extra maintenance that we ourselves would also have to do. Again, this maintenance tariff, Ameren, the only thing they'll do is change the bulb. That's it. So it's a win-win because we're simplifying the fixture, we're eliminating a bunch of points of failure, and then obviously we're saving a bunch of money on the back end. So
super.
As long as the span of the light bulb is significantly different.
Yeah, the span of light bulb is much longer than a high pressure. So.
All right, thank you. Good
All
work.
right. City Treasurer.
No report this evening.
Okay. Assistant City Administrator.
Well, I do want to echo what everybody else has said about Nicole. I'm so happy that I have her till May. She has been a joy to work with, and she's going to be hard to replace. But then I also want to recognize Michael Bean. You may have noticed we've got the new speakers installed. You can see the speakers that are in front of you along the dais there that should assist you guys with hearing from side to side. And then we've also got the new speakers that are set up here in the middle and the speakers that have been installed where the old speakers were in the ceiling there. Michael's worked very hard all week to kind of finish that project, and I just want to recognize him for all his hard work. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Building.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Airport.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Our business then is complete for this evening, and we are adjourned.
Can I get an ordinance approved for slap Mr. Calvino?